As long as people have sailed the open seas, they've told tales of encounters with deadly, man-eating sea creatures.
Both Jewish and Christian texts reference the Leviathan, which is a giant sea creature that was incredibly dangerous, eventually killed by God so that they would not reproduce.
In the epic poem, The Odyssey, Homer describes a deep sea beast with 6 heads and triple rows of teeth that devours passing sailors, including half of Odysseus's men.
All cultures that have grown up along the oceans or the seas have tales of massive sea animals. That's why from the 10th century to the 17th century, maps had all of these sea monsters drawn and written around the sides. If you stay within this, you're going to probably be okay, but if you go out, you could run into something that could literally swallow your boat whole and drag you to the bottom of the ocean.
But over the centuries, arguably the most feared sea monster of all becomes known as the Kraken. In 1180, writings from a Norwegian ruler placed the beast in Scandinavia.
King Sverre specifically warned people against this monster that was menacing ships between Norway and Iceland. And he tells us it was the size of an island, and its sole purpose was to feast on human flesh.
Later on, in the 1500s, an archbishop named Olaus Magnus describes the Kraken as having long horns and built thick like a tree with fiery red eyes. And this is based on accounts that he's heard from sailors whose ships have been attacked at sea. This is an animal that will sink your ship.
After the invention of the printing press, this description gets distributed far and wide and is taken aboard ships that are bound for destinations like China or even the West Indies.
Naturalist Pierre Denis' illustration of the Kraken is arguably the best one of all time because you have a British warship being attacked by this massive beast with all of these tentacles, and it appears to be winning. So you have to go out there knowing that this thing could, at any point, take you to the bottom of the ocean.
These stories aren't just centuries-old fables. Such alleged attacks also occur in modern times, including one harrowing encounter during World War II.
In 1941, the Germans attacked a British steamliner, the SS Britannia, just about 750 miles off the coast of Sierra Leone. Hundreds of passengers are forced to abandon ship in just a handful of lifeboats, and they're cast adrift for several weeks, if not months.
So you have people hanging over the side of these lifeboats, waiting to be rescued. Now, during this journey, one of the men on the boat says they were attacked. There were tentacles coming out of the water, wrapping around people, injuring them or pulling them back into the ocean. He says, I was attacked as well, and he actually watched an Indian servant be pulled down with these thick tentacles and devoured.
This sounds like a tall tale, but 15 years later, the eyewitness shows the circular scars on his leg to a marine naturalist who confirms that it was caused by the suckers of an animal more than 20 feet long, just like the Kraken.
More than 1,000 years after it first appears in written records, the Kraken remains a mystery. What could this terrifying monster really be?
What if there is something else out there, an unknown sea animal that we just haven't been able to capture yet?
Scientists pretty much dismiss this idea that it could be its entirely unique species until a group of fishermen in the 1970s haul in something truly unexpected.
In 1977, a Japanese fishing trawler was able to pull in this massive carcass. This thing was 30 feet long and 4,000 pounds.
This is truly something they have never seen before and cannot account for. It appears to have an incredibly long backbone. It has these 4 sort of strange fins on it. But because it smells so atrocious, they all decide to toss it back in the ocean.
Luckily, somebody snapped a couple of photos of it and actually took a sample, and they sent that sample away to get it tested. Now, what's interesting is normally a sample comes back and you're like, oh, blue whale. This came back inconclusive.
Based on photos, based on the description that the fishermen were able to give, the official interpretation that the government makes is that this was likely a decomposing basking shark. So it's one of the largest creatures there is. They grow up to about 30 feet long.
But another Japanese scientist has a much more controversial theory.
Professor Tokyo Shikama of Yokohama National University believes that the carcass is actually the remains of a dinosaur, specifically the plesiosaur, which was one of the deadliest beasts to ever roam the seas. Some descriptions of the Kraken do fit with certain aspects of the plesiosaur. So if this dinosaur had managed to survive to modern times, as Shikama maintains, that would mean that the origin of the Kraken actually goes back millions of years.
Plesiosaurs are large aquatic reptiles that lived during the time of the dinosaurs. They lived in the Cretaceous period.
These creatures are the T-Rexes of the ocean. Big, giant animals with extraordinary teeth that were voracious hunters. And they've been extinct for some time. But this professor said, well, this could well be a plesiosaur that we just have never caught before.
If this creature is a survivor from the age of dinosaurs, then it rewrites everything we thought we knew about their demise.
Most scientists agree that there was a mass extinction event about 66 million years ago when this asteroid, 6 to 9 miles wide, slams into the Yucatan Peninsula with such power that it drives itself 14 miles into the Earth.
When you have an asteroid that is this size, you have boiling oceans, you have pure darkness that takes place, and also displacement of a lot of water. So it wiped out 75% of the Earth's species, and for the animals that dwell in the water, this was the apocalypse.
We have great white sharks, which can grow up to about 20 feet in length. And the megalodon was 2 times the size of the great white, or maybe bigger. The largest fish ever to exist.
It is believed to have gone extinct about 3.6 million years ago. But of course, similar to the plesiosaur, there could have been some that survived down in deeper water, still living in the oceans today.
Most scientists think this is highly unlikely because no bones or teeth of a megalodon have ever been found on the ocean floor that weren't fossilized. But some theorists wonder if maybe a few megalodons actually did manage to survive into the modern era.
It might seem far-fetched, but there are other examples of prehistoric beasts surviving the asteroid impact that have been verified by scientists.
In 1938, a South African fisherman catches something that he's never seen before. It has these armored blue scales, and its fins aren't normal like fish fins. They're actually fleshy.
So he sends this off to a marine biologist who absolutely cannot believe what she's seeing. It's called the coelacanth. But the most recent one was from 66 million years ago.
The news of this is so startling. It's a bizarre animal and maybe one people hadn't thought of before, but the resurrection story of it led to a worldwide recognition of an animal that was thought to be from the age of the dinosaurs.
Evolutionary biologists are faced with a new mystery. If this prehistoric fish survived the Great Extinction, is it possible a beast like the Kraken did as well?
Perhaps the coelacanth fish survived because it's relatively small.